What's the difference between a pre-tax traditional IRA and a Roth IRA?
It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
Hey, Money Guy family, it's your host, Brian Preston, sitting here with Mr. Bo Hansen, going beyond common sense to make sure every dollar you have goes just that much further. And this is one I gotta catch them quick, Bo, because a lot of people are gonna hear that intro and be like, difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. This is foundational. I know this already. Stay there. Stay. I know we attract very analytical, very smart do-it-yourselfers. Don't leave, because before this is all over, we're going to share some advanced skills that you need to hang in there with us, because a lot of you might think you understand all the ins and outs of the difference between a traditional and a Roth IRA. But I think even these foundational episodes can really help, basically back up and affirm stuff you already know, but it also can go you a little bit deeper on a little nugget that you might not have even realized about this subject matter.
How long has the Money Guy show been going on, Brian?
Since 2006.
I can't think in my mind since 2006 of a show that we have just dedicated solely to this topic. Can you?
No, and that's something I think that's what's good about the YouTube channel, because because we do now have, let's just say it, we have a media empire. We are building, I just came up with that on the spot, that we are building, so it's no longer, we're not just a podcast. We are a show, because there is multiple media formats, but it does allow us to come back and think about things that we take for granted that everybody knows, but we know out there because of search terms and other things that YouTube is going to look at this a little bit differently.
That's right.
So we want to come back, and I think our listeners will appreciate this as well. By the way, if you're new to the family, we're picking up thousands of new people on the YouTube platforms, as well as iTunes, Stitcher, as well as wherever else you're digesting this media format. Go to moneyguy.com, go to aboundwealth.com, see what we do in our day jobs, see who we are. And I think the first thing that always makes me feel so good is when you guys actually connect with us, because we do work with clients and well over I'll just say the majority of the country. You guys are shocked that this really is how we are. I mean, this is the way we are nerdy this way on the show. We are nerdy this way in life in as cool as a way possible.
See, I thought you were going to say we're cool on the show, we're cool in real life. You went the other way.
That's what you think about things. But so let's kind of jump into this thing, because you hear IRAs. IRAs stand for Individual Retirement Account. Check, that's easy. Okay. And these things are somewhat similar in some aspects. You can contribute $5,500 a year. Right. If you're 50 or over, you get an extra $1,000 catch-up, so you could do up to $6,500 a year. But there are some differences. Those are the kind of the similarities. But let's talk about the differences. First, Roth IRA. When you hear the word Roth,
you get excited a little bit.
I do want you to get excited, because nobody likes paying taxes.
Right.
And one of my favorite things about what we do for a living is there's this little concept that's really powerful. It's called compounding interest. And what you guys, anybody who's under 40 years of age, who's lucky enough to be digesting this content, realize by the time you retire, there's a good chance, like 80+% of your account value at retirement very well could be coming from the growth of the account.
Not the money that you put into it.
No, that's probably going to be 10, 20% of the money. The other 80 is going to be from that beautiful, magical concept of compounding growth. Letting that money work for you instead of you working with your back, your hands, and your brain. So the cool thing about compounding interest is that if you can make it tax-free, Uncle never gets his hands on this. So that's why we love Roth IRAs, because they grow tax-free. They maximize compounding interest. Traditional IRAs, they're a little different. They give you the potential for a tax deduction, maybe. Not for sure. It all depends upon if you have a retirement plan at work. It also depends upon your income.
Right.
But you maybe get a tax deduction, but for sure you'll get what's called tax-deferred growth, meaning whatever you put in, the government's not going to pick on you. They're not going to nitpick your interest income. They're not going to nitpick the capital appreciation. Not going to nitpick the dividends. But when you reach 70 and a half, they're going to stick their hand out and say, where's my cut? They're going to start requiring you to take minimum distributions. It's tax-deferred growth. There's a big difference between tax-deferred versus tax-free.
Even if you hit 59 and a half and you just need the money to start paying for living expenses, they're not going to let you pull it out tax-free. You have to pay income on it when you pull it out.
It is crazy. So I went around the office. This is how nerdy we are. We here at Abound Wealth.
This is how cool we are is what he meant to say.
Well, My wife let me know that nerdy is cool, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Maybe she said that to make me feel better about myself, but she tells me that nerdy is now cool. So I think they're synonymous. When you say that nerdy and cool are the same thing.
Let's go with
that. But
I
nerdy cool self, went around the office and asked all of our employees this question.
Okay.
I don't think you were on the phone. That's why you weren't involved in this.
Because I don't remember that.
I said, which is more important? Tax-free growth or tax deduction? Which is more valuable? Tax deduction or tax-free growth? You can reverse them.
Well, I know the answer.
So you have an answer.
I have an answer.
I was actually surprised and excited. Everybody on the team chose the same thing. What do you think they chose?
Tax-free growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tax-free growth is more powerful because here's why. As I mentioned earlier, there's a multiplier effect from having tax-free growth. You put in $5,500, there is a good chance by retirement it might be worth $50,000. Yeah. So there's a multiplier effect that goes on with tax-free growth. There's also, we are at historically low tax rates. I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but in December of 2017, they kind of changed the tax law. So tax rates are historically low right now. Right. So let's go ahead and take advantage of the super low rates now and then not have that question mark for what tax rates will be in the future. And then we love this thing. We call it's a terminology we call tax diversification. You're like, tax diversification? Where have I ever heard that? You know, we all hear about asset allocation because you have to diversify your assets. We think you need to diversify how your accounts are structured, like whether you have after-tax money, that's your traditional individual or joint savings account. Tax deferred, that's your 401k at work. And then you have tax-free, which is your Roth assets. We like tax diversification because say you're one of these FIRE people and you're going to retire early. Yep. You retire at 50 years of age and you don't have, and you have multiple choices, whether you have, you know, tax deferred, tax free, or joint. You kind of determine how you want to pay taxes. That's right. Because you can live off either the after tax or the tax free assets and keep your taxes as low as possible. So we love the fact that when you have tax diversification, you control your tax fate. Plus, you're going to naturally get some tax deferred growth just through those employer plans. Because remember, when you were Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, they both have a $5,500 limit on what you can contribute. Sure. But remember, the $5,500 in the Roth, the only way the traditional even has a fighting chance is if you do by chance meet all the criteria and get a tax deduction and you invest the tax deduction too. Otherwise, it's not even a fair fight. That's right. Because tax-free trumps tax-deferred. So the only way that, you know, you can even, you got to take that tax deduction, add it to the $5,500, and still the Roth is probably going to beat it in the long term. So I wanted to go even deeper with the key differences between the traditional and the Roth IRA before we get into the advanced planning strategies. Okay. So the first thing, one of these guys has an income discrimination.
That is true. Yeah. Roth IRA say if you make over a certain amount of money, you can't do them anymore.
That's how you know these things are good. When things are really good, the government puts an income limit on it. I'm serious. It really is. Think about all the things out there. You make too much, we're going to take away that credit. You make too much, we're going to take away that deduction. That's right. You make too much, no tax-free growth for you. So that's how you know income discrimination, Roth IRA, your income gets too high. And that number in 2018, by the way, is $189,000 to $199,000 for a married couple. You no longer, once you get over, you don't get to make those contributions unless you know about this concept called backdoor Roth IRAs. We'll get to that in advanced concepts, but we'll keep it. Let's keep it on the down low until we get to that section.
All right, so we got income discrimination. Any other kinds of discrimination?
Oh yeah, we got age discrimination. That just sounds dirty saying it. Age discrimination. Here's the thing: your traditional IRAs, you get to 70 and a half, and you're still working. Because remember, both of these require you to have earned income, meaning you have to actually go and have some type of wages or self-employment income to even be able to contribute to these accounts. But you get to 70 and a half. And the guys at the traditional IRA store are going to be like, no more for you. You're 70 and a half. They're going to discriminate against you. Whereas that Roth IRA is going to go, come on in, keep contributing, keep getting that tax-free growth. If you know, so there's no age discrimination with that Roth IRA. So keep that going. And then here's the other one, required minimum distributions.
Yep, we talked about that one a little bit.
Yeah. Required minimum distributions, and I'm just going to keep on with my analogies because I'm kind of on a roll here. Traditional IRAs have what I call a Cinderella clause.
Oh, okay. They turn into pumpkins, it sounds like.
No. That's exactly right. So that carriage at 70 and a half, Because you have a fairy godmother that says, we're going to let this all be tax deferred, meaning your assets keep getting to grow, no taxes, they're not going to mess with you until you reach 70 and a half. The clock hits the top, and then all of a sudden, the carriage turns into a pumpkin, and you have to start paying taxes. So that is, it's a Cinderella clause. Yep. Whereas the Roth, guess what happens at 70 and a half?
Keeps on going.
You push the accelerator and tell the government you're still not getting my money.
So it's Cinderella versus the Energizer Bunny. Is that what I heard?
Yeah,
that's
you rock and roll. Well, I think it's more of a rock and roll thing. I get this vision of Sammy Hagar when he got to 70 and a half. He just hits the accelerator and says, I can't drive 55. So that's it's just a little different. And then number 4, as we close this out, is distributions.
Okay.
There's always this thing. We've done an entire show on how do you get access to your retirement accounts before you're 59 and a half. Right. That's the magical age, if you didn't know, with IRAs, that once you reach 59 and a half, you get access to your retirement accounts, and your only obligation with traditional 401ks and IRAs, you got to pay income taxes, but there's no penalties. With a traditional IRA, you're always going to have to pay income taxes. And if you're under 59 and a half and don't reach some of their special criteria we've covered in other podcast episodes or Money Guy shows, you might have a 10% early withdrawal penalty. Roth IRAs? Nope. You get to pull out your initial investment. You don't get to pull out the growth, but you do get to pull out your initial investment tax-free. That's pretty powerful.
That's really powerful.
I tried not to do it, but Roth IRAs kind of kick in, they really do a good job compared to the traditional IRA.
They are good. Yeah, but now it's not, and this is an important disclaimer, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not always better, because there are certain because how often do we see this? And this is going to be a beautiful segue. You're going to think I planned it, but this just works this way. How often do we see one of our clients or one of our prospects, a high-income individual making really great income, and all of a sudden their company starts offering a Roth 401k? Yep. And because they've heard us talk in the past about how amazing Roths are and how valuable those assets are, the very first thing they do is they go switch all of their contributions to be Roth 401k contributions. How often do we see that?
So this is getting into the advanced planning stage. I do like how you transition. So it just so happens I have a handy dandy for my audio listeners. I'll make a sound for you. Looking at the new 2018 tax rates, because here's the thing. Most places will never give you the divisor of when you probably should consider doing Roth versus traditional on when is the tax deduction, because there does come a point that you have to say to yourself, do I really want to pay 37% income taxes right now? No, I'd probably rather get the tax deduction now so that when I retire, hopefully I want to be on a lower income tax state because, I'm going to hopefully have that tax diversification, be able to really manipulate what my income looks like in retirement. Whereas while you're in your maximum peak earning years, you might just have to pay a lot of taxes.
Yeah, tax deduction.
So here's the thing we tell people, and it used to be 25%, but we got a new tax rate. We now have 24%. 20, it's 22 and 24. This one was a hard one though, because the 25 actually became the 22% rate. And then the one that was 28 has moved down to 24%. So I really struggled on this one. Here's the definitive answers I will give you. If your income is below $77,000.
Now, and when you say income, you're talking about taxable income.
Taxable income. So after all your deductions, that means anything, the next dollar, really it's between 77, but everybody under 77, I think it's a no-brainer because that's people that are in the 12% tax bracket. Do the Roth. I mean, you're not paying, when you're paying 12% taxes, that's pretty low historically. So take advantage of that. Do the Roth, whether it's the Roth 401k, Roth 403b. When you get above $77,400 for a married couple, all the way up to $165,000, you're now in the 22% bracket. Still historically a very good, low tax rate. I still think it makes, if you think that your income is going to be in that range, I think it's still okay to consider the Roth option because 22% is very reasonable. Here's the part where I struggle with it is between $165,000 to $315,000 for a married couple is a 24% bracket. Yeah. That's still kind of historically low.
Right.
So I think that you got to now, the only cautionary I tell you is look at your itemized deductions, look at your, state income taxes. that kind of needs to be your deciding factor of what pushes the pendulum one way or the other. But easily people who are under 165,000, who are 22% or lower on their tax bracket, Roth really can be powerful because it's tax free. Since you put me on the hot seat, I'll turn around and give you an advanced concept to talk about.
Okay.
Kind of explain when we say the word backdoor Roth IRA, what do we mean by that?
Yeah, so we already talked about it. If you're someone who makes over a certain amount of income, the government says, hey, you can't do Roth IRAs anymore. However, there was some legislation that changed, it actually sunsetted back in 2010, that opened it up that now folks, no matter what your income is, you can do what's called a Roth conversion. Well, so if you're someone who has your account set up where you don't have any other outside IRAs, so no SEP IRA, simple IRAs, IRA rollover, those types of IRA accounts.
As of the close of the previous tax year.
As of 12/31 of last year. Then you're someone who could likely, obviously consult with a financial advisor or tax prep professional. You're someone who likely could do a non-deductible traditional IRA contribution. And what you're doing, you're just saying, I'm going to put money into a traditional IRA. I'm not going to take a deduction for that, so it's going to stay after tax dollars. And then, at some point in the future, I'm going to convert those dollars to Roth. Well, because that 55 or 6,500 if you're over 50 was after tax, when you go to convert it to Roth, you can do so completely tax-free.
Now, here's the cautionary tale. There's a lot of moving parts in this. If you have any IRA structures, don't do this without talking to somebody who actually knows how to do this, because I will also warn you that when we get tax notices, if clients are going to get a tax notice, it's typically on clients that have backdoor Roth contributions that they're doing these traditional IRA conversions to Roth IRAs. The IRS gets really confused. So it's not uncommon that you have to write a letter clarifying what's going on and attach all the right forms. So it might make sense. You know us guys here at The Money Guy. We want you to do as much of this on yourself and also to just flex of our how nerdy we are and our knowledge. This might be one of the things that, you probably want to get a second opinion on. Get somebody in your corner to help you out. That's probably a great way to kind of close out the show, Bo. So we do work with clients in the majority of the country. If you like what you hear, you like how our mindset towards money is, feel free to reach out. Go to moneyguy.com, go to aboundwealth.com. We have contact pages for both of them, have really good information on letting you see who we are. And I think you will be surprised that the guys you see on this show, both on YouTube, out there in iTunes, and wherever else that you are consuming this media, we're the same guys. So check us out. I'm your host, Brian Preston. Really appreciate you listening to The Money Guy Show.